Hello everyone at home. Hello everybody here. Good evening, all incarnated, disincarnated, online and offline for the next hopefully hour and a half. Um, we are back for our studies. Oh, sorry. It looks like it's working. We're back for our Wednesday studies. So, as usual, we explain briefly how it works, but everybody here has been here before. Hopefully, everyone at home knows about the Spiritist group, and usually what we do on Wednesdays is reading the Gospel and the Spirit's book, and we read and discuss. So when we do these studies on Wednesdays, we usually film just the slides. And when he's home today, so he's gonna do a little bit of some IT help from far away. He will also help with the slides and with the streaming. And on the last Wednesday of the month, we have a lecture. So not next Wednesday, the other one, right? We have a lecture this month in English and next month in Portuguese. And we alternate like that. So 1 month in Portuguese, 1 month in English. And we always here around 7 o'clock so we can start getting ready, prepare the room, prepare ourselves for the meeting, and starting at 7:15. We try to be on time and finishing on time because of mostly. Obviously, it's very good for us also, so we all know when to be here and when it's finishing so we can go home. But also for the spirituality, it's quite nice that we have a commitment with time so they can also get prepared. The busy spirits can get organized. Um, so we are going to start with an inspirational reading from the Christian agenda, and we are reading number 50.
When
Yes,
you,
yes, no, that was right.
when you say you're gonna try to change the slides from there,
Oh, it's alright for now. It's we so today we are in a room that doesn't really have the screen, so we are with some light effects in there, some texture in the screen. But hopefully we can read everything well. Well, at least here we can hear. So we just try to read as clearly as possible so you at home can also understand and join. According to my mom, it's not what I do. She listens to the studies and she's like, I can understand everyone but you. So I'm sorry. So this is from the Christian Agenda. Conclusions. That physical life is a blessed school is unmistakable. But if you do not take advantage so as to sufficiently learn the lessons intended for use for your spiritual growth, then your entrance in the human apprenticeship will be worth nothing. Maybe we can pause that one. I feel like it's getting. Sorry. That the path of good is laborious and difficult is undeniable. However, if you are not disposed to follow it, then no one will free you from the dangerous influence of evil. The eternal happiness is a supreme achievement, way beyond the transient state in the flesh is indisputable. Nevertheless, if you desire to continue in the field of easy and inferior pleasures of the lowest levels, then you will wander in them indefinitely. That God is with us in all circumstances is an unquestionable truth. Still, if you are not with God, no one can foresee to what depths your spirit will descend in the domains of intranquility and darkness. So we're going to get ready to do our initial prayer. Okay. Do you want to finish your prayer? I'll do the end of the...
yes, I will try.
All right. Thank you.
Dear God, lovely Master Jesus, we'd like to ask permission to start our meeting today, that we can elevate our thoughts, connect with the good spirits, and receive good inspirations so we can enjoy and learn the most so we can put in practice every day. Stay with us always. So be good.
Sophia. Thank you. So we're going to start with the Gospel, and we are in chapter 20, item 1. So we're starting a new chapter today. Am I right?
Mhm.
So I'm not going to make anyone try and remember what we talked about it last week, because we're going to start a new chapter, so we can start fresh today. So we are on the chapter called Workers of the Last Hour. So we're going to start with Spirit's teachings, and so the Gospel and even the Spirit's book always works in a way that Kardec has what the Spirit's comments are. 20, yeah. The Spirit's, and then number 1. The Spirit's comments are, and then the Spirit's lessons are, and then he writes comments or a sum up or his point of view in the bottom or a brief explanation. So we start. Oh, thank you, Mani, for the slides over there. I can see that people at home can see the clear one. So we ask for a volunteer to read this one. If anyone feel like reading tonight.
I can read.
Good.
Workers of the last hour, the Spirit's teachings. The last shall be first, the mission of the Spiritists, workers of the Lord. 1. The kingdom of heaven is like the father of a family who went out at daybreak in order to hire workers to work in his vineyard. Having agreed with the workers that he would pay them 1 denarius per day, he sent them to the vineyard. He went out again at the third hour of the day, and seeing others who were in the square not doing anything, he said to them, "You go also to my vineyard, and I will give you what is reasonable." And they went there. Again, he went out at the sixth and ninth hours of the day and did the same. And having gone out at the 11th hour, he found others who were without anything and without anything to do, and said to them, "Why have you stood around all day without working?" They told him that it was because no one had hired them. He then said to them, "You too go to my vineyard." When evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to the one who was taking care of his business, "Call the workers and pay them from the last to the first." Thus, those who had not come in the vineyard except when the 11th hour was near received 1 denarius each. Those who were hired first came to their turn, believing they would be given more, but each one received no more than 1 denarius. Upon receiving it, they complained against the father of the family, saying, "These last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us who bore the load and heat of the day." But in response, he said to one of them, "My friend, I have done you no wrong. Did you not agree with me on 1 denarius for your day's work? Take what belongs to you and go. As far for as for me, I wish to give to the last as much as to you. It is it not permitted to me to do what I want? And is your eye evil because I am good? Thus the last shall be the first, and the first shall be the last. For many are called, but few are chosen. Matthew, yeah, 21 to 16. See also parable of the wedding feast. chapter 20,
18.
yeah, 18, yeah. Right. Thank you. Reading.
Maybe we stop for comments just to because then it comes another well comes the comments after that, which if anyone usually we pass the pen, but because we are trying not to touch the same pens, we will just pass our turns, nodding towards the next person. So you can start with this if you want.
Yeah, so I really like this parable because it's saying that even if you are the last one to start working, and I can see that like improving yourself or working for the well of everyone, uh, you're going to receive the same thing as the ones that started when Jesus was around. So the first one I can think about is the apostles. So this parable, I believe it's saying that the Father is God or Jesus, and it's asking them to work for them in their vineyard. So first they call some of them, and then the second, then the third hour, and then the 11th hour. And this, I believe, the 11th hour is us here after 2,000 years from Jesus, and we are getting his knowledge now, and we are ready to work. And now we have our opportunity. And it's saying that if you get that opportunity and you go forward, you're going to receive the same as the others received in the beginning. So you're going to be in a good place. You're going to be in a place with Jesus, working for them when we go to the afterlife. And that's it for me. There are a lot of other interpretations that we was talking with the room before that, but I will leave with this.
Done the next one. Oh, that's it.
Okay, cool. So, considering that we are the workers of this hour, I think it's good to understand that our actions are the things that matters in that case. So, if we are behaving and doing good things and following the pathway that we want to follow in order to be a better person, we'll get there one day. It won't be tomorrow, it will be one day, but we need to act as we think and think better things and act in a good way.
I think that's interesting because the workers of the last hour, they're not just sitting around and being lazy. They wanted to work. They were just expecting the right time to do it. Someone who gave them, the job. So I think that's what I like most about this program. They're ready to work. That's when the worker is ready, the service or the task will appear. So I think they were ready. They were sitting for it. They were really willing to help. And then in the last hour, it was time for them to give their, collaboration.
I think it's very interesting. So the person needs some people to work for him. Then some start earlier, some start later, but at the end they all got the same. They all got the same payment. And it's interesting to think how in today's world that will cause a lot of trouble. If someone start the shift before you or after you, and at the end of the day, you both got exactly what you've been promised before you accept the work, people will think it's not fair. They will think that others should be paid less because you spend there the whole day. Even though the contract or the deal before you started was for you to get the same amount of money that you got at the end of the day. And I think that involved a lot of selfishness. People are being just thinking about themselves. When you start to reflect that, at the end of the day, the person got exactly what they mean to have. They got exactly the goal that motivates them to go there. So why do they care that the other got the same? Why they cannot be happy for other people? Your happiness is there. You had a job, you got it when you're supposed to have it, and that's it. But at the end, there's this need of validation for you to have more than the another one because you start in a different time. potentially this time it was his time to just do a little work and get the same amount. One day it will be yours, and so on. So life that reflects a lot in life for me. On the incarnations that we have it, like Barbara said, we are the last workers. Sometimes one seems to have done more work than you, but the thing is, another day you probably did less than another one. But the concept is that we shouldn't be selfish. We should just be happy for other people they achieving their goals, and that reflects a lot what happens these days, where people they forget they actually got something good out of it because they spend time thinking about other person, judging the other person, judging if it was fair or not, when we know we should leave this judgment for a higher power than what we are, as we can't see the whole context, we can't see the past and the future of that person, we don't know what happened in there. Yeah, I think that's about it. Not being selfish and actually being able to be happy for other people, to be happy for those who actually just achieve whatever task they had to achieve.
Yeah, I think there's like Andrea said, there's so many things you can interpret out of this, and so many lessons you can take it out of such a simple parable. That is, I think the first thing I thought was same thing as Gita, like, oh, so it's not they didn't want to work, they wanted, but they didn't know exactly what to do. So we are all workers of the 11th hour, for something in our lives, right? So that we are never going to be um, the best on everything, know everything. So there's always something that we are catching up on, or that we don't know, that we don't understand, or even if we're thinking here on an evolution scale, we are far from being perfect, which means we have a lot of things that we need to work on ourselves. So you might be a very patient person, but maybe you are not charitable because you're very patient, you wait your turn, and oh, if people can't stress you out, you never raise your voice, everything is fine. But as long as I don't have to share my space, so there's always something that we need to work on. And with that interpretation, we're all late on something, we're all working on something. And it's not because we achieve something after everybody else that you have less merit than someone that did it first, right? So in the scale of evolution, it's not there are people that are more evolved, there are people that are less, there are spirits that are years and thousands of years ahead of what we're going through now, and that doesn't mean they are better than us. It just means we have different timings, we have different ways of facing life, of facing challenges, and if I arrive somewhere first, there's no reason why I should look into other people and think like, oh, it's the person's never gonna get here, or if they do, they don't have the same merit as I did because I got here first. And like Logan was saying, why does it matter so much that other people got the same as us? If that doesn't take away from what you got, why does it matter so much that other people got to receive it? It's not even sharing. So this is such a serious thing that go through our daily lives now. So when we talk about, for example, and it's just like a small example on equality, right? So we're trying for now so much in society is really and gladly we can see that so much is being questioned. Oh, this speech is not acceptable anymore. This is sexism. This is racism. And why doesn't that? Why do people that are in power or they have the better side of the coin, like we say in Portuguese, get so annoyed because all these people that used to be in a lower part of society are not getting their turn, are getting their power of talking to people or getting access to places that they wouldn't have before. Why does it hurt people so much? If you're not losing anything, why is it so bad that someone else is getting the fair treatment? So this is really serious. It talks about not only empathy, but also about selfishness, like Tobin said, and talks also um, about our pride, right? If I'm here alone, has a meaning. If I'm here with other 100 people, it doesn't have the same meaning. To win a race, you have to be the first. If you cross the finishing line at the same time as someone else does, that's not a win. It's a shared win, right? So it's the way we interpret this, the way we think about it. There's so many things in life that we can mirror that. And to me, this is a topic for many, many lessons, lectures, and etc. Because when I read this before, it to me is the reflection of today's situation that we're going through. Is the reflection of it. Is we are we really think about ourselves a lot until something more interesting happened with our neighbor, and then we suddenly think a lot about other people, right? So it's where is the measurement of that? Where how does it stop? And it also makes me think of a sentence that I use a lot, borrowed from Mahatma Gandhi, which is you need to be the difference you want to see in the world, right? So the difference, the change only starts. It starts with us. We can only do what we can do. So why am I so worried about controlling what the other person is earning when I should be concerned with what I can do? I came, I did my job, I got paid. That's a good thing. Yeah. So we're gonna carry on reading.
I just want to add one more thing because no one thinks about that aspect of this parable. Because if you're going to analyze those parables, you need to think about in the Jesus time. So those kind of workers, they are poor people. So they wake up in the morning and go door to door asking, "Do you have something for me to do? Because I have to buy food for my family." So the first one, they got knocked the first door, or in this case, the father went to them and asked to work. And okay, they had the peace of mind that in the end they're going to receive one denarius. And the others, they were there, stayed there for 11 hours, and they couldn't find jobs. So no one hired them. So they needed that money, and they couldn't find. So you can imagine if you are like, you have like a family to go and back and to bring food, and you don't have the money to buy the food. So that's kind of it gets the on the state of mind of that person. And then when you get a job and you get the same amount that you would get in the beginning, it's not because of you just stay 1 hour. Okay, it was good from the father, but it was okay for them because in the end they didn't work the whole time, but they needed to work the whole time to get the money to go back to home and feed their family. And that's really important saying that, okay, that person got a job and that opportunity, but they deserved that. So, like we discussed before, they were looking for work.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to read? Can you give Andrea a break?
I can read.
Thank you, Rihanna.
Okay. The Spirit is teaching, the last shall be first. Spirit is teaching, the last shall be first. Sorry. True, the workers of the last hour have a right to their wages, but their queens has to have put them at the disposal of the master who was to hire them, and their tardiness must not have been the result of laziness or ill will. They have a right to their wages because since daybreak they have been waiting impatiently for some who would finally can call them to work. They were hardworking. They only lacked work. However, if they had refused work at each hour of the day, if they had said, "Let us be patient, repose is pleasing," when the last hour sounds, it will be time to think about today's wages. That need is there for us to inconvenience ourselves for a master home. We neither know nor respect.
No mistake.
The later, the better. This thing, my friends, would not have received the wages of work, but that of laziness. What would have become of these workers if, instead of only remaining idle, they had used the hours of the day meant for a laborer to commit blameworthy acts? If they had blasphemed God by spilling the blood of their brothers and sisters, by causing problems among families, by ruining those who trusted them, by abusing the innocent, or by indulging in all the ignominies of humanity. What would have become of them? Would it be enough for them to have said at the last hour, Sir, we have used our time badly. Use us until the end of the day, so that we may do a little, though it will be very little for our part. But give us the wage for our work of good will. No, the master would have said to them, I do not have any work for you right now. You have squandered your time. You have forgotten what you had learned, and you no longer know how to work in my vineyard. Therefore, begin to learn once more, and when you are more willing, come to me, and I will open my vast field to you, where you will be able to work at all hours of the day. Good spirits, my dearly beloved, you are all workers of the last hour. The one who says, I began work at the daybreak and I will finish only at nightfall, would be very proud. You all came when you were cold, some a little early, some a little later, to the incarnation whose
Shekels?
shekels you uh,
There.
bear. However, for how many centuries has the Lord been calling you to his vineyard without you want to enter it? Now is the time for you to receive the wages. Employ the time you have remaining well, and never forget that your existence, no matter how long it may seem to you, is only a fleeting instant of immensity of time compressing eternity for you. Constantine, a protector of spirit. Ordeus, 1863.
Thank you. We'll stop again for a quick comment and then we'll read the last bit of this.
I think it's more about like what we already said, our comments we are just reading. So no comments.
Yeah. I always find quite nice that we do sometimes that we read
What
first
yeah.
and then we comment and then we read what Kardec's comments are because a lot of the times it's like, oh, see, I was right, or just, oh, I didn't think of that, and it was quite obviously when we know what the study is going to be, we kind of give it a read before usually, but it's quite nice that the conversation kind of floats around what's going to be said again. But anyway, we'll just go around if anyone wants to say anything else before we go to the next bit.
I think that points the another side of people who actually go after offer jobs, but they decide not to, because if they knew they're gonna have the same reward, why not just wait until late in the day so I can do less work? Obviously representing laziness. Um, in fact, there's a very interesting comparison with what you mentioned before about equality. When we start thinking about it, there are people who are actually really predisposed for work, but they can't find it because when time comes, they will have to find their work. Of course, using the analogy of the parable. But in case of equality, those people were forced not even go and look for this sort of job. They were forced to stay behind. And these days, equality is actually not about making them, the minorities, better than the others. It's actually normalized. It's putting them in the same level. It's putting them to understand that minorities should not exist, that we're all the same, and the opportunity should have been given for them a long time ago. But back to this, it talks about how God gives you so many opportunities and you don't take it, and sometimes you ignore it. Sometimes it was the time for you to help someone and you didn't, and you just left behind it, and you didn't listen to that nice voice inside you to do something good or to help others. I believe Emmanuel says you're better off you're better off helping someone right now than needed to be helped in the future. So you're better off trying to help someone at this time right now than just wait, than just be lazy, and in the future someone will actually have to come and look for you and help you. I guess God gives us different opportunities in different times, and His perfection, He always gonna give you when you need it. So when you see it, when the opportunity comes to you, it presents to you, you are capable of doing it. Otherwise, it wouldn't. God will not waste His time giving you something that you can't do it, give you something that you're not able to complete. So it's about believing in yourself and remember that working is good. Yeah.
It's always good. Yeah, I think and obviously the beginning he says it's a bit of a bet, right? So you can wait because last minute you might have work and you might work less, or the time will come, all the jobs will be taken, and you are not going to get the money. You're going to end up starving because you didn't work because you didn't want to. So how do you know? And to me, that part of the analogy is when do you know when your this incarnation is going to finish? When do you know when your time on earth is over for this incarnation? For at least like this person, right? So for Kiara, when time will be up? We don't know. So it's a bet. I can start the work today and do it right now, or I can keep waiting until, oh, when I'm older, I'll do charity. When I'm older, I will have time to study. When I'm retired, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Next week, we can promise where this time is not ours to decide. So we are already workers of the last hour because it says so. You've been called a long time ago. So we had so many things that happened on earth, right? First, second, and now third revelation. Who knows how many incarnations it took us to start opening our eyes and actually start talking about spiritism. Maybe less incarnation, we had nothing to do with what we're doing today. Maybe 2, 3, 4 incarnations ago, we were already starting to be awake for this. Maybe right now we're here studying, but still thinking we are awake and we're not there yet. So there's no way of knowing which stage we were and what we. The only certainty is that we have to keep moving forward. So the work starts right now. Right?
Yeah, I got that one part that's saying when they say that the first time that you start the day and then you didn't get a job, what are you going to do with the rest of the day? And they say that okay, you can be patient, you can develop your faith that we learned last week, and you can develop those to be virtues, or you can bless them, talk like try to do bad things, try to, since you're not going to receive anything, let's make the others lose something as well. To be like that example. And that's something that we need to think about because sometimes you're prepared to work or you're prepared to do something, but you don't get the opportunity because it's a trial for you as well. So you have to develop your faith, you have to develop the patience, and you have to think about that side as well. And just completing what Carol said, I've heard sometimes that in another video with like one I don't know how to say expositor in English, but the
Yeah,
presenter
for like a lecture.
lecture, yeah, no, different like lecture saying that what we need to become perfect, to evolve, is following Jesus' teachings that, okay, do what you do the best, do the charity, do good, and help others. You don't need to follow the Spiritism to become a good person. And then what we have with the Spiritism is like something to help us remember that we have to do that, like a push in our back. And we are like really blessed because of Spiritism, because we know more what we need to do than the other religions. And it's just like more responsibility for us to, now that we know that we are the workers of the last hour, to go ahead and work. And that's really good. It's reassuring for me.
I don't have any comments about the part.
You can.
Actually, maybe my comment is not related to the. I was just thinking while you guys were talking, how we're not us, but human beings are so narrow-minded.
Yeah.
When we talk about work, for us, going to class and receiving the same thing is like you're taking advantage. It's good because I'm not putting so much effort to something, but I'm getting the same reward, right? But as spirits, when you start learning about the spiritism and everything that we've been discussing, work and service just like a gift. So everyone has been called to work and serve. So yeah, be given the opportunity to work and to serve and to work in the vineyard is quite special. We shouldn't think that work less, it's and receive the same reward, it's good. It's actually, yeah, I was just, it's not related to the topic, sorry.
It is.
Yeah. So yeah, we cannot see it's a burden. No, working is good, serving is good. You know, it gives us the opportunity to evolve, to become better people.
I think it's a lot to do with point of view, right? So if you think about from the materialistic point of view, working little and earning the same as someone that works a lot sounds much better, right?
Yeah.
Why would you want to work 12 hours instead of 6 and make the same amount of money? If we're talking about, like you said, about work on the literal definition, and if we're having the materialistic vision. But then also still talking about work in a literal way, there's a lot of people. So my sister works in a job now that when she started, she works two jobs. The jobs that she worked at night, the manager, when he interviewed her, when he hired her, he told her, this is the job everybody wanted to have because you're going to do nothing for 6 hours and you're going to get paid. And she was like, what? I can do this. I can't sit there for 6 hours and do nothing. How do people do that? And then it's like a call center and she just has to monitor the emails, but there's barely someone that talks to them. So she started doing a second degree on uni, and got her time occupied. But lots of people would be gladly just sitting there with their feet up, dozing off or just like watching TV or something like that for 6 hours. And she decided to make her time productive. But it's not everyone that will do it. And when he said that, this is everyone's dream. You're gonna get paid to do nothing for 6 hours. Can you imagine actually doing nothing for 6 hours? So it's a really point of view, right? If you want to do something useful with your time, and I think especially for people that have been looking for work for a long time or they haven't had the chance to do it, getting work is a big deal. You should be happy about it. Being able to do it, even though we take it for granted most of the time because we do it so much. It is an opportunity, right? It is a blessing.
I remember was back in 2015. I wasn't able to work for 3 months because of visa stuff. You know, I wasn't interim visa, and I was getting crazy. You know, like even you can do some things that at some point you don't have anything to do anymore. And I think it's not just natural for human being to, you know, like, and it's weird that we still say sometimes, oh, what do you do for, especially for women, you know, like, you just stay home or something with the kids. It's one of the most difficult works that you have to do in your life, you know, and then we still like thinking that like,
Give less.
yeah.
And it's funny when you start reading Andrea Luiz, you become quite obsessed with work because everything you do in the spiritual life, it's like, okay, so I want to do this. Okay, do you deserve that? Have you worked enough? So I mean, being doing nothing, it's just like a crime. You need to do something. Of course, not just do things, but help your neighbor. You know, so yeah, that's why I was thinking because I've been reading a lot of Luis. So thinking about work, it's been
It's really good because work or labor is one of the God's law.
Yes.
And I got here the spirit book. Just read the question because we are talking about the material definition of work.
Yeah.
And here they say what is the definition of labor or work in the spiritual meaning. And they say what we question 675 should we understand labor to entail only material occupations? And the spirit answers, no. The spirit labors as much as the body. Every useful occupation is labor. So those 6 hours of work that you sit and do nothing, it's not work and it's not labor. But every time that you're helping someone or doing something useful with your time, you're working.
This materialistic view of thinking that you work more than someone work less, you deserve less. The fact that we call ourselves, well, we are the workers of the last hours, means that all the scientists that become before us, all those people that have built the society, or even things that are around you, your clothes, this chair, the wall, all those people have worked a lifetime and they build what they have to do. So in theory, we are for sure the last hour. We're just enjoying all of this. Why should we deserve to go to heaven or the same place that that genius or that person went? So that's why it's
And I
all
think
quite
even like going beyond on that analogy, even if we are the workers of the last hour, what are you doing to make this last hour worth it? You know, to make a difference, to make it count. So if people had 11 hours more than you to accomplish something, you we're here and we only have the 1 hour. You better make it work, right? So, move on. We just read the last bit, so we'll kind of wrap it up. Do you want to read to me? Just a little
Yeah,
bit?
sure. 3. Jesus loved the simplicity of symbols, and in his powerful language, the words who come at the first hour were Moses, the prophets, and all the initiators who mark the stage of progress that has been continued down through the centuries by apostles, martyrs, church fathers, learned individuals, philosophers, and finally spiritists, the last to arrive, having announced and foretold since the coming of the Messiah, and they will receive the same recompense. But what am I saying? A greater recompense. As the last to arrive, spiritists profit from the intellectual endeavors of the
Predecessors.
something like that. Because humans must inherit from humans, and their endeavors and results are collected. God blesses solidarity. Furthermore, many among them are alive again today, or will come back in the future to complete the work that they have formerly begun. More than one patriarch, more than one prophet, more than one disciple of Christ, more than one disseminator of Christian faith may be found among spiritists. However, they are now more enlightened, more advanced, no longer working for the foundations, but on the top floor of the building. Their wages, therefore, will be in proportion of the merit of the work. Reincarnation, that wonderful tenet, both immortalizes and defines spiritual affiliation, called to give an accounting of its earthly mandate. The spirit understands the continuity of the test, interrupted but always resumed once again. It seems and sense that its size, yeah, it is light,
Or
the through of it
has ceased.
has ceased in this light, the through is precedence. I can't say that.
The thought of its predecessors.
Thank you. It enters the arena again, matured by experience, to advance a little more, and all workers of the first and the last hour, with their eyes open to the profound justice of God, no longer complain, but simply worship. This is one of the true meanings of this parable. Like all the parables that Jesus addressed to the people, beneath its forms and images, it contains the seed of the future as well as the revelation of that magnificent unit that harmonizes all things in the universe, and that solidarity that reconnects all present beings to the past and future. Henry Paris, 1863.
He just keeps the word Harry Hain.
I can actually see that Hain.
Hain. Yeah,
I
Harry
can't see
Hain.
it.
Yes.
It's right in the phone.
I'll blame the wall, not me, in my perfect English.
To be fair, that the last speech was not even English, was in Paris 6063, so you're forgiven on that wall. It's too harsh.
Duncan. This is just what we talked about, right? About the connection with all the previous ones. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
so
talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone wants to do a last comment while we swap these slides to the Spiritist book. 7. No comments?
While you find that, I have a phrase from Bezerra de Menezes where he say the most important, the biggest antidote that we're gonna ever find is love, and is that love that we should give it without expecting even a smile back, and that exactly apply for the situation. When you do your work, I guess the best reward you can expect it is nothing. Don't expect anything. Just give it love, and you'll be right.
It's so we are on part 2 of the Spiritist book, chapter 8. Does anyone remember what we talked about last week? 30. Oh, did we read it wrong?
So now,
It's 8.
is it 8?
Part 2, chapter 8.
I wrote it. I was testing you. You passed.
No, 8, part 2, chapter 8. So last week we talked, does anyone remember before I talk about?
About the difference between lethargy and catalepsy.
Good job.
And there are things that we usually mix.
Yeah, so we talked about a little bit about miracles and how science evolved, and what now we define, right, catalepsy and yeah, I just said the word. Lethargy, thank you. So how we define, now we have a definition for that, but obviously in Jesus' times they actually didn't, and you're right?
I don't know why it's skipping.
Yeah, there you go. No, it's right. The next one is a really long thing, so it just turned into a very tiny slide, but it's right. And when we keep reading, you see that this is the correct, hopefully, I think I'm right. So now so this chapter that we're in, and when you kind of summed up last week, it talks about the emancipation of the soul. So that's why I talked about dreams and about thoughts, and now it talked about coma, and now talk about lethargy and etc. So now we're gonna talk about sonambulism. That's how you read it. I'll start reading, and then we read one question, one answer each. And this first one is quite big. Sonambulism for 25. Does natural sonambulism have any connection to dreams? How can it be explained? It is a state of the soul in which its independence is more complete than in dreams. Thus, its faculties are more unrestrained. The soul has perceptions that it does not attain in the dream state, which is actually a state of imperfect sonambulism. So this is the answer of the spirits, and then the next part is Kardec's comment, which is quite nice because when I read this the first time, I was like, I definitely needed the teacher to come and explain, right? Because it felt quite complex. So then Kardec says, in sonambulism, the spirit is in total possession of itself, but the physical organs are in a sort of cataleptic state and no longer receive external impressions. This state manifests especially during sleep, the time during which the spirit can temporarily leave the body, while the body enjoys the repose that is indispensable to matter. When somnambulistic related activity occurs, it is because the spirit is preoccupied with one thing or another that requires the physical body, which it then uses in the same way it would if it were to employ a table or other material object in the phenomena of physical manifestations or a hand in written communications. In dreams that you are conscious of, the sensorial organs, including those related to memory, begin to awaken and imperfectly receive the impressions produced by objects or external causes, and communicate them to the spirit. The spirit also, in a state of repose, only perceives confused and often fragmentary sensations, which without any apparent reason are mixed in with vague memories of either the present life or previous ones. It is therefore easy to understand why somnambulists do not remember anything, and why most of the time the dreams they do remember have no meaning. I say most of the time because sometimes dreams are the consequence of a precise memory of events of a previous life, and sometimes even a sort of intuition for the future, of the future. Sorry, I'm breaking you on the one. Um, so it's just like a summa, a really simplistic summa. It's just talking how in sonambulism it's like the spirit, it's like the body, and it compares to catalepsy, right? So it's like in a coma. The body is still not a coma. Catalepsy is the right one because the body is still connected and moving, and the spirit is in a dream, so it's barely connected to the body, only connected to the pure spirit, but you're living the dream like it's something going on in life, but you can't really control what is going on with your body. You can go walk around, but you can't receive external stimuli because you are asleep, right? So your spirit is not actually in your body at the moment, even though it's controlling. The spirit needs to be awake and in the body to be able to listen, to respond to the stimuli that's going on this planet. That's what I was looking for. Is it clear, more or less? Yeah. So it's quite a complex explanation, and it goes talking about also the sensations and how the spirit also behaves, and says that also majority of the cases the spirit wakes up and he can't remember what happened, but in some cases is a reflection of previous lives, so it's living, and it's quite nice in the part that in the middle over there it talks about how it's the dream or what the spirit is trying to do is something that the spirit is worried about and is trying to do while is asleep, and that reflects on the body, and that's why people ended up moving, sometimes driving, sometimes going to check on the kids and things like that while the person is still asleep, apparently is asleep. So if it is a reflection from past lives and you actually reliving that, there's lots of cases, right, of people that have sonambulism that need to be on a safe environment that does very unexpected things. And sonambulism, so medically speaking, is triggered by stress. So by when the person is going through a hard phase on their lives, they tend to walk around and wake up more, sleep like for any of us. You sleep a little less well and interferes in your routine. It's the same with sonambulism. So if you're going through something quite hard that makes you quite stressed, it makes the episodes more recurrent. So it is just a reflection of what the spirit is going through. I hope I explained more or less. So we read the next one.
Yes. Does the sorry, 4:6. Does so-called magnetic sonambulism have any connection to natural sonambulism? It is the same thing, with the difference that it is artificially induced. Yeah, straightforward.
Yeah. Next one, 47. What is the nature of the agent called the magnetic fluid? It is a vital fluid, anomalized electricity, modifications of the universal fluid.
You can you see from there?
What is the cause of somnambulistic clairvoyancy? Clairvoyancy? We have already told you, it is soul side.
All right, maybe we stop in this one for a few comments, just because the three questions are quite related. If anyone wants to
I've
take.
never heard about somnambulistic clairvoyance.
So clairvoyance is some sort of maybe we would say even mediumship, but being able to see things right in the future
I
or
know
to
what it is, I
understand.
just don't know what somnambulistic.
Both together.
They're both okay. I've never heard.
What is the connection?
Yeah.
So in some cases, what I imagine and I interpret from what I was reading, same as sometimes dreaming of something and you wake up and you're like, oh, actually I thought this was going to happen.
Yeah.
So the person is living something in their dream that maybe will happen in the future, and it says, oh, so what is the cause? Why does it happen? And then it says, oh, it's the soul side. So it's just saying, we already told you because we talked about this when we talked about dreams. So that's when they said it before. That is the soul side. So it's just because when we're asleep, we are not limited by the body anymore, and you can see completely different, right? We're not limited by our eyes, our ears. It's just a completely different view of everything that's going on, and of especially when we are not so connected to the physical body. And the same happens when you are sonambulist. Anyone else?
I think a good way of explaining it, the sonambulist states also could be compared to a trance sort of state where you find yourself between consciousness and dissociation. It's a different state of the currently body that we have. It. Just like Carol mentioned, the organs that we currently have, it, they permit us to see it, to hear, to touch things. Just like the organism that a fish has permits the fish to breathe underneath the water. So when you go to a state like that, where you disconnected from your body, you disconnected from certain limitations, your spirit has different organisms, have different capabilities, which will make you go through the wall, or make you go somewhere, or see someone, or even develop a state such as clairvoyance or something like that. So I guess the comparison that they make there is just that the fact that, which is going to explain probably a little bit better in the next questions, but it's just that you're just in a spirit form, and will allow you to do much more things than we can do it right now. which obviously when we wake up, that's, I guess, if someone be correct, the reason why you probably don't remember much is because they probably will damage a little bit your currently day-to-day basis. So it's not really necessary for you to learn and remember everything. Probably goes to the same principle why we don't remember all our previous lives and everything that happens. It will take you off your trails of the life you have to do right now. It will take you off the work of the last hour that you have to do right now. Otherwise, you're just going to be too busy with something that's not related to the effectiveness of right now.
And in early in this chapter, there is a question saying like, "Oh, why don't we remember?" And the explanation is, it doesn't matter if you remember exactly what happened because you always wake up with the feeling your spirit learned something in that moment, and that knowledge, none of our reincarnations, none of our disconnections with the body and etc. we will erase. It's innate and is recorded in our spirit, and we're going to carry on taking it. So you don't necessarily need to remember an experience to take something good or bad out of it, right? So that's what trauma is about. We rewrite in our minds and we remember completely different from what actually happened, but the feeling, the trauma itself, what causes on us, is still going to be there. Doesn't matter how much we bury and try to forget or actually forget what happened. The feeling, our personality, everything that builds after that moment is going to be there. Right? So maybe we read the next couple questions just because it's going to explain a little bit about the clairvoyance too. Mikael, do you want to read one?
Yep. How can the somnambulist see through opaque objects? No object is completely opaque, except to your dense organs. We have already stated that matter is no obstacle to spirits since they can pass right through it. Somnambulists frequently tell you that they see through their forehead, through their knee, etc., because you are entirely immersed in the matter and do not understand that they can see without the help of organs. Nonetheless, at your insistence, they believe they actually need them. If you were to leave them alone, however, they would understand that they see through all the parts of the body, or rather, that they see apart from their body.
430. Since clairvoyance of somnambulists is that of the soul or spirit, why don't they see everything? And why do they so often make mistakes? First, it's not given to an imperfect spirit to see everything and know everything. You know very well that they still share your errors and prejudices. Second, while they are connected to matter, they do not enjoy all the spirit faculties. God has given clairvoyance to humankind for a useful and serious purpose, and, and not so that it may learn what it should not know. That is why somnambulists do not know everything.
Yeah, so that is just an explanation of what we were talking before, right? So yeah, it's a good sum up. So reminds us of why we have some people have mediumship and why we remember things and other things we don't, and that we can't rely on clairvoyance or mediumship, especially of other people, because we never know what is actually our intuition, what actually happened, what we're actually supposed to know. It's we really have to believe that what we need to know, it will find a way to get to us. And most of all, that most of the time it doesn't really matter because there's a lot that we can carry on doing in life without knowing certain things, right? Sometimes we get stuck on this piece of information that we think it's gonna unlock everything, right? If I achieve this, or if I find this, if I figure this out, everything is going to be different. When it's just us again being focused on just one thing. So this I find this chapter is quite interesting, talking about that and why we're so curious about dreams and what are their meanings, and if we think that most of the time it's just us living our lives just away from this physical plane. There's nothing to be interpreted. There's nothing to be discovered. Nothing mysterious about. It's more day-to-day work activities going on, and the feeling, the knowledge is going to be with us no matter what. Hopefully, we're all doing our prayers, going to sleep in a good with
Mindset.
with a good mindset, with a good vibration. So we have lots of work ahead and a nice time also while we are this not so connected to the body. I just see that someone's making a comment, but we're not going to read the whole thing.
Oh yeah, when you say something.
Yeah, no, it's alright. We are going to do our spiritual.
I think when you just comment, when someone is on a somnambulistic state, they enjoy more freedom from their body and no longer see their eyes. They see with their perispirit and is more immersed depending on the moral evolution.
Good.
Thanks, Mani.
Thank you, Mani. So we are now going to get ready. Andres, can you go back just so I can see which slide is it, please? We are going to do our collective vibration. Thank you. And our final prayer. So thank you everybody for participating. Thank you everyone at home for joining us and participating from home. Do you want to put in one of the nice images? It's going to be up on the screen. I think Moni even put it there on his one. So we are now going to get ready for our spiritual vibration. And we know that just being here in this room, just coming to this study group, we are being blessed with the magnific vibrations we're generating here tonight. But also that this vibration, this energy depends on us to be vibrating on the same level, to be tuned in, to receive the benefits of it. So like Jesus said, we need to believe it, we need to live it, to actually be able to be cured, to actually be able to receive this, we need to be ready. So at this moment, together, we start working in our physical body, being now very aware of our body sitting in the chair, in the bed, wherever we are. Being aware of our breathing, feeling the air coming in and out of this amazing machine that is the human body. We now start to pay attention to what's going on in our minds. We don't disregard our thoughts. Our ability to think is what makes us human. We just now try and focus in this energy, in this feeling that we want to generate and pass to others. In this feeling we want to receive, to which vibration we want to meet. This vibration, this feeling, it might have a color, it might have a certain look, and it surrounds our body, emanating towards other people in this room, incarnated or disincarnated. We can see all of us here now together, vibrating the same feeling of love, forgiveness, happiness, the feeling of a well done evening of labor, of work, studying, working on ourselves. It's a type of labor and it's a type of love towards ourselves and other people. So in this vibration, we also try and spend some time imagining those who might be in need of this incredible energy tonight. People that are in the hospitals, battling COVID or other diseases, they are in need of this healing energy. People going through incredible sadness of losing other people, of losing their jobs, losing their households, or so much other hardships that are going through around Earth. Those people need this healing, loving energy. And towards us, we will direct also this charitable energy of forgiveness, of love towards ourselves. We are so thankful for being here tonight. We are thankful for the opportunity of being not only in New Zealand, but also here on this Spiritist group where we found each other and have the support of the friendly spirituality of these groups, mentors, of our own mentors. We thank you for being here present tonight. We thank you for your guidance and patience with us. They are still so worthy in our journeys of learning. We thank our friends and family for being so patient also with us while we are in this path, in this journey. We direct our thoughts and feelings towards those people we love and miss, towards those people we love and see it every day, and also towards those people that need a little bit more of our compassion and patience. We thank you, God, for the opportunity of exercising our compassion, of exercising our patience by living with challenging spirits around us. We are sure to be the challenge in someone else's life too. We ask that you bless those people incarnated or disincarnated that couldn't be here tonight, that they may receive this energy too, and that they may join us next week for another Spiritist group. Thank you, and so be it. Thank you, everybody at home. We'll say good night, and we'll see you next week.